Night Elves, a kindness repaid. And there'll be a video on this eventually, maybe, hopefully. I've got it written, so maybe we'll make it happen. And the idea of this is, and I could have prepared a load of stuff, but I'll just do it off the top of my head. So the Night Elves, right? They have suffered tremendously. Believe it or not. They suffered tremendously.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think people might be sort of aware of this, that Night Elves have had a pretty bad, 10,050 years or so, because things were going pretty well. They were all like, oh yeah, we're trolls, but magically evolved, so fuck you. Oh yeah, Night Warrior, just go kill all the trolls. Great, sweet, absolutely, this is all our land now. Hey, we built a big city. Hey, we're dealing with magic. Hey, Ashar's really pretty and she's our queen. Let's fucking go. Yeah, and then let's ignore the fact that there was a whole lower class of them, and the Highborn were bastards and all that stuff. But they were a little bit turning to Druidism a little bit and stuff like that. But then the War of the Ancients happened. And that was to put it into perspective, imagine if you were I imagine a lot of you watching are Americans this time. Imagine all the states are just exploded. Most of them are gone forever. And they're just split off across the island and there's no contact to each other. Everything's just gone horribly wrong. Because that was a sundering. And then a load of demons show up and just kill most of you. Literally, most of you just die fighting these demons.
Yeah.
And then you eventually win, right? You eventually win. And then it's well, you did this. This was your fault. Literally your fault. You, the individual, no. This is the cultural fault. Culturally and societally the fault. Because the whole reason is Kansas, where the Well of Eternity will be located. Exactly. They summoned in the demons by using too much magic. I don't know if that's super completely canon, but that's always the way the Night Elves have been built.
Yeah.
With the understanding of, we used magic. And that was the home and beacon for the demons to come and literally kill most of us.
Well, I remember Cataclysm, Night Elf Mages.
Yeah.
That was actually a little drama in the community.
Yeah, and that was...
Blizzard had a lore reason for it, but that was something.
And actually in Wrath, beginning of the pre-patch, that was actually teased and actually foreshadowed, because there's one of the Night Elf Mages is in the Temple of the Moon talking about it and talking about how Night Elf Mages are... Now it's fine for them to come back, and they're tired of being in exile, which is cool. But
as immortal beings, just worth as immortal beings, some of those humongous generational losses of life will be in a way more traumatic to them. That's versus mortal beings who are used to that.
That's one of my core points here, right? So they were effectively immortal because of the Well of Eternity. A loss of life on that scale was fucking unbelievably brutal. It was literally their entire world and their worldview and their culture was upended. They stopped using magic. They turned to Druidism. They turned to they already had Druidism a little bit. Malfurion was the first person who really did that with Cenarius. And they had the priestesses culture and worshipping in Lune. They already had that for a long time. But they doubled down on that, and they doubled down on Druidism, they doubled down on nature worship, and they turned away from magic, and they went to live in trees. And they had this whole calendar problem. And I was that was this really serious problem. Then, of course, it doesn't really end there, because the War of the Satyr happens 700 years later, and they have to kill all their brothers, because effectively, the quickest way to explain it is... Satyr all were Night Elves corrupted by the demons, and they went to war, and it was a very brutal war, and the Night Elves almost kind of lost lots of people, and it was only because of R'hllor Fangfire and the Worgen becoming into existence, which was a terrible move, by the way. That's all I can say. The Worgen existing is a bad move.
Whoops.
The Worgen ended up killing a load of elves and Satyr because they lost their minds, and that's Malfurion had to banish them to the Dream. It was effectively his fault, more or less, right? It was effectively his fault, more or less. That whole story in the comic has all these allegories towards Illidan and Tyrande and Malfurion existing again, thematically in these three characters. And it's really cool. It's an enjoyable read. But fundamentally, the point is that they suffered like crazy, and then 700 years later, they suffered like crazy. But it's all the same people suffering, right? This isn't generational trauma. This isn't, hey, my great-great-grandfather was in the war. some of that is true because they did continue to have children, but a lot of it was another war. I don't want to lose my friends again. I don't want to lose my family again. Fuck. Then, quite a while later, lots of conflict in the middle, but then quite a while later, you've got the second invasion of the Burning Legion, which this time wasn't exactly their fault, but it still happened. And like, what happened? They had to sacrifice their immortality and their entire new way of life, because the whole point was that effectively Alexstrasza and Ysera gave them like the immortality again, the power in Nordrassil in the World Tree. Then Archimonde shows up and they're like, well, we're all isolationist and time to make the ultimate sacrifice. We'll get rid of our immortality. We'll destroy the Legion's second attempt at invading because this is it. And it's all the same people. So your entire way of life is upended. Everything you know, most people you love, killed, destroyed. You're not allowed to use magic anymore. Your entire world is turned upside down. Literally, the world is now different. And then it happens again, 10,000 years later. And you're still there going, oh my God, why is this happening? Why have I lived through 3 wars? I mean, you're 10,000 years old, of course. But these like massive life-changing events that are like culturally significant. Like culturally significant in the same way the World Wars were for us. But they lived through all of them. Like, imagine you see World War I, and then World War II, and then the Cold War, and then the Vietnam War, and then the like whole terrorism of the 2000s. And you're like, I'm tired, can I go to sleep? And that's kind of the whole Night Elf existence. And then it happens again with Teldrassil. And that's like, there's obviously things that happen in the middle, but that's basically their entire way of life, their entire culture has changed 3 times. That almost happens no human ever. There's like, maybe people will flee like war places like Ukraine and stuff like that, or maybe in like in the Middle East that happens.
You were caught in some of the like flashpoints in the Napoleonic era, maybe where you know it's just fucking chaos for a while.
Yeah.
But like it's decently unfathomable. Yeah. And then another thing I think that's super important for world building. And this is something that, please don't eye roll too hard, that FF14 does really well, because with the way that like dragons experience memory.
Yeah, that's fucking great,
you know, they will feel events that happened 10,000 years ago as if they happened yesterday. And that's just something they use to great effect. It makes them feel like a different class of being.
Yeah.
You know, and I won't do any more spoilery things. You know, I look at the work of Tolkien, right? You know, the difference between elves, dwarves, men. You know, elves aren't just people like you and me who live forever.
Even though
the
they feel
fact
that way,
that they live forever, it will change how they perceive time. It will change what they dedicate themselves to. It will change what they prioritize. And I think that just really reinforces the like deep trauma that so many of them will have been through.
Yeah, they have been through stuff that like the average human alive today could not fathom in terms of the sheer amount of suffering. And that's why, you know, they're all like isolationists, and people have this idea of like they're really reclusive and they're really like basically no good crack. And when the orcs show up, they're like, get the fuck out of our forest. And obviously they're like, get the fuck out of our forest, because anytime anything new showed up, it destroyed their entire like worldview and culture.
Yeah.
And it immediately did that because the orcs were brought over by the demons and stuff. But that's the case where, you know, you bring you bring in like how they responded to the Draenei as an example, where they ended up in Torghast. Yeah, they ended up in the Maw when they died. That's
just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, it gets worse and worse and worse. But the point is, like, the Draenei showed up, and then the Draenei were kind of nice. Obviously, the first interaction they had as people was the injured priestess waking up and calling them the Eridar and panicking and passing out again, because there's a demon. The demons are back. A time to lose your entire world again. Yeah. Sorry, Night Elves. But then turned out the Draenei were nice, so they were like basically decent best friends. They became close because they both had the same, hey, you've got, your entire world has been upended by the demons. You were responsible for it. They share that feeling because in, you know, the Burning Legion led by Archimonde, Kil'jaeden, the other one, I can't remember his name. Oh my God. Kil'jaeden.
Oh
my god.
Oh no, what's happening? We've both been mind wiped. Archimon, Kil'jaeden, and Jim.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of Archimon, Kil'jaeden, and Velen didn't.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
We should keep Jim.
Yeah, I forgot that there wasn't a third bad guy, but yeah. So then they lose their entire thing because they ended up creating the demons in a way, or helping them out. Night Elves did the same thing, right? Night Elves summoned the demons in and lost their entire way of life. And that's why they had this like really close relationship that they never really explored too hard in story, but like the signs are there where there's a Draenei emissary standing by Tyrande for years and years and years in game. Stuff like that goes, oh, these people are actually really close. They just never really...
He's really dedicated to that. He's not moved a fucking inch.
Yeah, absolutely. Fucking never lie. But then we go to the Worgen, right? And the Night Elves were also responsible for the Worgen's creation.
Yeah.
And then the Worgens lose their way of life. The Gunains, that is. The Gunains lose their way of life due to the Scourge. Not the demons this time, surprisingly. But that's like this whole thing of, oh, sorry, you've all become Worgens. You've lost your way of life. You're all refugees from your home. Your entire culture's been completely upended. You now have this whole new societal problem to deal with. Fuck it. That's actually technically our fault. Sorry about that. So they teach them the ritual of balance, and that's a really, like, the Worgen starting. I don't like how the Battle of Gilneas feels these days, but like the whole Worgen starting experience is great.
Oh yeah.
But it gets you so close to the Night Elves. You're chilling there going, okay, well, I've been taught balance. I know how to handle the Worgen form to an extent. And then you more or less go to, Darnassus, and they go, yeah, shit's pretty bad for us too. With like we're losing Ashenvale. Ashenvale is at the time of Cataclysm basically on fire.
Yeah.
Hyjal,
it has been ever since.
Yeah, and Hyjal, our old ancestral home, has Ragnaros in it now. That's not good, but it's fine. You can live in our tree. Here's a tree specially for you because we feel responsible for you.
This is funny.
And it's like Night Elves have this massive, tremendous suffering, but they've always been kind to the races they feel a kinship with. And it's like, one's purple, one's blue, one's furry, but they all share the same cultural traumas. Obviously, Night Elves have had it. Well, Night Elves and Draenei, hard to say who's had it worse because both of them had their entire ways of life upended 2 or 3 times. Actually, no, the Night Elves are at 3. The first invasion, the second invasion, and Teldrassil, and the Draenei are just at the Argus Exodus, and then orcs genociding their entire race. Cool. Horde are morally grey, by the way. But that actually, thinking about the Horde actually completely derailed me. But the point is that the Night Elves showed them all this kindness. Where the fuck were the Draenei and the Worgen?
Yeah.
After Teldrassil. Where is that at? And that's the thing where Blizzard could completely, starting now, completely fix the entire Night Elf problem by just respecting that relationship, that kindness. Just respecting that idea of, hey, the Draenei are pretty... The Draenei have a lot of work to do to, repay their kindness. The Worgen could help as well, especially when you think of the thematic links here, where what was the whole arc of the Night Warrior? It was we've put the fury of the Night Elves onto one character. We've put the rage of the Night Elves, the hatred of the orcs, the hatred of the Scourge, hatred of Sylvanas onto that one character. As an allegory and also for a plot point that went fucking nowhere, but thanks Blizzard. But I have this idea of the Worgen could repay the kindness of literally return the exact favor, where the Night Elves are like, I'm angry and homeless. And then the Worgen were like, well, the Night Elves are angry and homeless. The Worgen were angry and homeless. And then the Night Elves help with that by going, here's the ritual of balance. Here's how to chill the fuck out. And also here's a bit of a home. Obviously, Gilneas doesn't exist. Sadly, it's not been rebuilt. It'll be rebuilt in game someday, says Steve. Steve the Loser, maybe. But that's the idea where they actually can, push into this. They can push all of that plot point forward and make every one of those races feel great and feel really close to the race and close to each other and really tighten the bonds of the alliance in a way that feels really satisfying for world building by just going, oh, the Worgen are help. The Worgen are... This is the example I have in the video, but the Worgen are leading the Night Elves in the Tai Chi class, going, here's how we have a different anger to you. You helped us with ritual balance, but we've had to carry it forward since. you've taught us a little bit. You've taught us a little bit of how to solve it. We carried that lesson on. We have learned new things. Here's how to not be really pissed off all the time, even though your blood is boiling. And that's something I think is really important. It could be really good. And then the Draenei, this is the big one. This is a big one. And I fucking hate that they haven't done this. Bloodmist Isle has been corrupted by the Blood Elves bullshittery for 14 years in-game. Because it was year 26 it happened, and Dragonflight is the year 40. So that'll be 14 years, right? And the Night Elves are rude and condescending in-game. Yeah, they shouldn't be. They should be to some reasons, they shouldn't be. But 14 years, Bloodmist, still the same. Despite the Draenei being shamans, the Night Elves being druids. And this is my idea, right? All you have to do is just start it now. Send a delegation of the Earthen Ring, send a delegation of the Cenarian Circle up to Hill Bloodmist and say, hey, it may take a while to sort this out, but we will clean this up. In the same way they tried to clean up Silithus, same way they tried to clean up Ashenvale, all those places. Just go, clean that up, sort it out, and this will be the new home for the Night Elves. Maybe temporarily, maybe forever. And that's like all they have to do is just tie existing points of how the world's connected and the races are connected and push them forward a little bit and then say, fuck it, we'll come back to this in expansion, but here's the seeds. Here's the seeds of world building for the races actually, moving forward and setting things up. And that was basically my whole thing of the Night Elves are really, really, really suffering tremendously. And that could be a massive point of like really good storytelling, really massive potential in the World of Warcraft to actually have the world push forward. And that's like, just thinking about it, it's the amount of easy wins and free wins they're missing by not doing stuff like that. Like I even had a thought of, imagine Gen and Tyrande just having a wee conversation, just a wee stay a while and listen. And they've been good with stay a while and listens in Shadowlands, but they could, they seem to be cheap enough and easy to add. As long as you have people to write them, whatever else, and you don't need to voice them. But just have like Gen and Tyrande sitting there and like, oh boy, being angry all the time really is a bitch, innit? And then, they could talk about like exactly how that would be better, how that would be different, stuff like that. And then, here's another emotional win you could bring that in. Because who else went through the Ritual of Balance? Varian Wrynn. Their close friend. Close to the Worgen, close to the Night Elves, in that anger and that hatred and that kind of becoming like the Goldrun connection and, finding balance in the world, in the wild god essence inside himself. And then he just kind of goes and could just like, oh man, we miss Varian. He would have helped this time. But hopefully he's doing well in whatever realm the Shadowlands he was in. Yeah, Read Wolfheart.
Yeah, man. I think the point here is that by treating Night Elves like a group of people rather than just Tyrande's groupies, we can actually make the World of Warcraft feel like a world. I think the thing that's frustrated me is that it's been the Tyrande and Chandris show for such a long time, and I don't feel like we've grappled with the traumas of that character, but I get what they want to do.
Not of the people.
They want to just be like, this character will embody her people. But to me, that makes it so much more flat.
Yeah.
And so much less rich for an MMORPG setting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If this is a different form of media, a different genre of game, I think the stuff that they were doing could work better. But within an MMO, what you're saying makes a hell of a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that's the world building stuff where you can push the world forward so quick, so easy. Like that shouldn't even take that long. All you need to do is like have the vision to do it, have the idea.